Society has regressed. As we move further and further away from being able to have a civil discourse about any issue, the standard has become you support a certain side or you get canceled. Your actions don't really matter, as long as you virtue signal for that certain side and go along with
the message.
This has become painfully obvious in Hollywood and the movies, TV shows, and entertainment they put out. Sometimes it's a little more subtle, sometimes it's painfully obvious, and sometimes it's just downright racist.
One of the definitions of American whiteness is ignorance.
I think what annoys me most about white people is when they pretend like they're the victim. What's also annoying is when they kill us.
And it all just gets so predictable. There are independent companies that produce their own things, but a lot of the time those movies are a little too artsy for the average consumer.
Let Neptune strike ye dead, Winslow! Hark! Hark!
There hasn't really been anything that has become available for the average moviegoer who is tired of seeing the same agenda forced into every movie until recently. The Daily Wire is a conservative news site that has been getting into the film industry. They first produced the film Run, Hide, Fight, which I haven't seen. Of course, the critics wouldn't like something that goes against the message and that is made by a conservative outlet, but audience seemed to like it, so I wanted to give their newest film, their first independent production, Shut In, a chance. So I watched the premiere on YouTube, which you could stream for free. Just a warning, I'm about to get into spoilers here. The movie is a story of a recovering meth addict who has gone clean and is trying to get her life straightened out. Her mother recently passed away and left the house to her, but it's too expensive for her to live there, so she and her 2 kids are packing up and about to leave to go live where she can find more work. Before she can leave, her meth addict husband shows up with his meth addict child molesting friend, looking for some money and a place to stay. Her husband is high. They end up getting in a fight. He throws her in a pantry with some meth, boards up the door, takes her phone, car keys, and purse, and he and his meth addict friend leave. We then see her trying to escape this pantry while she tries to instruct her very young daughter on how to help her open the door and how to take care of her baby upstairs. The suspense heightens when the child molesting meth addict friend comes back to the house, threatening her children and trying to get the meth that she has with her in the cupboard. All while a storm approaches that makes the temperature in the house very cold. Through some witty actions and lucky breaks, she's able to incapacitate the man, escape the pantry, and reunite with her children. The husband returns and she ends up having to deal with both the husband and the child molester, but in the end, she's able to fight them off. Both the husband and the child molester end up dead, and she escapes with her 2 children, safe and sound. After all of this, we are treated to seeing her with her 2 kids, clean, happy, making money, and in the house, happily ever after. So was it good? It was fine. The type of movie that's entertaining enough when you watch it, but I'll probably completely forget about it by next week. It felt a little slow in the beginning, and almost like not enough happened throughout the movie. I do think it did a good job at making a likable, strong female character, though. In a lot of typical Hollywood movies with strong female characters, they write the characters to be so perfect, they end up being Mary Sue's, because it would be against the message to have a female with any character flaws. And when a character has no flaws, it's hard for the audience to connect with them, or for that character to go through an arc. The main character in our movie does go through a satisfying arc of being kind of a recovering mess in the beginning to a confident mother who has found self-worth in her children at the end. But I don't think this movie does enough to get her there. Yes, she realizes how much her kids mean to her by being forced away from them when they are in danger, but the movie also relies heavily on religion for her to find her redemption. She finds a Bible with an old picture of her and her mother, and it's some big revelation. I don't know, kind of felt not earned, I guess. Another thing I appreciate was that the characters didn't make the typical dumb choices you see in so many movies like this. There was no blaringly obvious things our protagonist could have done that she didn't do to try and get herself out of that situation, so I enjoyed that. They did go pretty heavy-handed on their side of the agenda. For something that is being propped up as going against Hollywood because it forces its agenda on you, I wish the Daily Wire would have been a little more subtle with their agenda. While she's locked in the pantry, there's a crucifix and a Bible that we see a lot of. At one point, our protagonist looks at the crucifix and gets the idea to lure the child molester's hand under the door so she can stab it into the floor with a screwdriver and keep him stuck there. I liked that. It was a nice, clever way to include nods towards religion. At one point, she gets a nail through one of her hands, which was also a nice, subtle nod to religion. But then, at one point, she gets a similar injury on her other hand, and she stares at both wounds, It just becomes too obvious what they're trying to allude to, and it kind of takes you out of the movie for a second. Then at other times, she opens the Bible and finds money in it, and she starts reading a psalm. And at other points, she picks up the crucifix, and the ceiling above her drips water onto Jesus, and that's how she figures out how to escape the pantry. It was just too heavy-handed, and it almost felt like it was taking away from emphasizing her strength, and instead saying, oh, God got her out of this. Or at least, that's how it felt to me. All in all, I definitely wouldn't say this is a great movie, but it did feel like a real professional production and not some beginning indie studio. I was entertained for an hour and a half, and what more can you really ask from a movie like this? I'm getting tired of all the same agenda pushing from Hollywood movies, so I'm happy to see other independent companies producing film. It definitely helps the art form to have more than just one type of mindset creating the art. I think I'll probably watch the next movie from the Daily Wire.